All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Mitchell Lee. I'm head of franchise development for Buddy's Home Furnishings. Thank y'all so much for joining us today. And to me, sitting to my left, sitting down, the legend himself. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, Mitchell, great to be here with you today. I'm Michael Bennett, CEO of Buddy's Home Furnishings.
Awesome. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us today. Wanted to take some time. We are here in Orlando for our Buddies conference. The tagline this year and the motive is grit. Been a crazy economy and story we've had the last 12 months, but excited from what's to come from it. And I think one of the big emphasis this year is just bringing it back to the things that matter the most. And it starts with our people and really letting people know our story. So with that being said, want to know a little bit more about you, so our listeners and our viewers can know a little bit more about you. So tell us a little bit about your rent-to-own experience, where you started, from Burger King all the way to now. How about
The
that?
Burger King?
Yeah,
The
Burger
King?
King. So
Okay. Yeah. So I did the Burger King thing for 4.5 years in 3 states. And
running around, cooking burgers and fries. What you
and
do?
I was working the fry station. I worked the Whopper board, the cheese board, the drive-through. I did the broiler, front, toilets. Yeah.
What years?
Oh man. That was probably 84 through, well, 4.5 years after that. Yeah. I can't count, but yeah.
How old were you at the time?
Um, 84 would have been 17, 18. Yeah.
So 18 to 22-ish.
Yeah.
And there's some college in there, obviously.
Something like that. Yeah. Graduated high school from 85, went on to, college in 85 and went to Weber College, which is now Weber International University in Florida. Small school. And I stayed for another 2 years and got my BA.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. So then you move into the hotel gig.
Yeah.
Where do we get, when does the RTO conversation come in? Is there a couple jobs in between that? Is there talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Where you were to now.
So I went from hotel sales after 9 months. I saw an opportunity, and it was to get into business, and it was through my wife's business, which was apartments. She was in the rental apartment business, and I knew nothing about this, but it was like the money. You can make good money flipping apartments, making them new again, restoring them. Called it turnkey. And so I decided just on a whim that I could do this, and I convinced my wife to convince her boss to give me an apartment for a week or two, where I could go in and I could do the job. And I started studying it. I got with painters, I got with paint stores, I got some credit, and I got a paint sprayer, and I got an account. And literally, Mitchell, it took me, I got the second apartment done in a week's time. Now, this was an apartment community that has a boatload of units, and they flip probably 30 to 45 units a month.
Wow.
And I'm doing one apartment in a week. So I decided I'm so successful at this, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start this business. And I got a few people to get into it with me. And, over the 5 years that I did Bennett's Custom Turnkey and flipping apartments, restoring those, I went from basically 2 weeks to 1 week to doing a 1-bedroom efficiency in 1 hour. And so I maximized that revenue, and it taught me a lot about business. I mean, there was hardship. There was a time where I lost some accounts. I lost all the accounts but one. And I ended up taking a job with UPS, loading trucks in the morning from the 4 to 8 shift. And that was just to sustain my team, to keep the people that I had, so that I did that early in the morning. I got back out and I started soliciting, marketing other apartment communities, built the business back up, built it into something to be proud of. And after 5 years, I said, I did this. I'm going to sell it. And that's when I went debt-free in my life for that moment. And and when I
Felt good at the time though, didn't it?
it felt really good. It felt really good. Pay off that 93 Camaro.
Yep.
I had to have it new.
Remember when I paid off my DFW house and I saw the bank account, and then we went and built a house and it was just reset all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got out of that, and I got into financial healthcare consulting. A little bit more along the lines of getting a business degree. I love finance. And I just happened to know a lady that was my mom's best friend, Pam Stoneburner, who started a business called Stoner and Associates, and she was looking for somebody to do some work on the finance side and to help doctors collect their monies faster and not write off as much. So that's where I entered into collections. So I started in sales, selling burgers, selling hotels, and then going out and selling myself. And then I ended up in an industry where I had to teach people how to collect. And honestly, I got into that, and my only ability to collect, learned knowledge of collections, was to try to get apartment communities to pay me after the work was done. But I got a little bit of that, and studied up on it, and all of a sudden I'm starting to go into hospitals and I'm collecting monies that they were going to write off, and I'm keeping relationships in the community, intact between hospitals and people that generally can't afford to make $1,000 payment on an MRI. So that's really where I learned and honed the collections piece, and I go in and I teach people in these offices, in these hospitals, how to collect. So then,
Can we just say one thing right
yeah,
there?
what you want to say?
When we're talking hospital collections, the painting business, whatever, and this is a common core throughout all of our business and in my business too, it really is just about a relationship,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
I mean, what we're doing now, breaking bread, talking together, just opening up, you can move mountains when you
Mhm.
build that kind of relationship and that communication line and that trust.
Okay.
And something I'm going to hammer on home, but just something I wanted to pinpoint right there.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's cool. Um, so, where was I, Mitchell?
leaving the home or the hospital business, moving into, I assume, your rent to own.
Yeah. So Pam called me up one day. My wife had a great job in Orlando. We were both here in Orlando, and
What year is this, give or take?
mm, that was probably, we bought the house in 91. It's probably around 94, 95, I think. Yeah. Wow. No, sorry, man. That was 1992
Okay.
is when it was, yeah, end of the road on that one.
So you've been in rent to own since the year I was born.
I've been in, wow. Can we pause on that, Mitchell? That's so, wow.
I'm giving my years away. I'm 32
Yeah.
years old. 32
Yeah.
years old. Yes, I'll be
Right.
33 in November.
Yeah.
So
Thanks for making me feel
sorry,
old.
I just
Thank
if
you.
I can give you a little dag, I'm going to.
All right.
A
Well,
little
good
dag
for you. So, Pam decided that she needed a VP of operations and she wanted me to move back to Atlanta. And so we were really excited. My wife and I decided she was going to quit her job. She was already transferring back and forth between Atlanta looking for a position. And I was back home paying the house that I had that had just turned into a historic district, a house. And I met a guy and sold him the house. And so we're homeless. Literally, we've sold our home. She's quit her job. I've sold my business. Pam calls me up and says, a week before we're ready to move, I'm selling my business.
Pam worked for who at the time?
Pam was the owner of Stoner and Associates, which was the financial healthcare consulting firm. Just a beautiful lady and a great family, childhood friends, love them forever.
Opportunity they couldn't pass up, it sounds
But, it was right for her, but it wasn't right for us. And it was a very down moment for me because, obviously we had created so much. My wife and I, we just got married and then all of a sudden it was just all gone. And so at that point, at the low, I started picking up the paper. And back then we looked at paper, not Indeed. And I found
Newspaper used to have everything. I know that's
I
crazy,
did,
but
and I found a guy. I found a company, and it was one of our competitors that I went through probably 5 different interviews. Today, you get one interview, you get hired, but I went through probably 5 different interviews so that I could make minimum wage with a college degree and graduated at the head of my class. It was exciting.
and we're going to talk a little bit about our competitors too. So just feel free to say who you were.
Yeah, it was Rent-A-Center. It was actually a company of Rent-A-Center called Comcoa. It was the largest franchise of Rent-A-Center. We were quite proud of that. But when I interviewed, I came in and I started on a truck. And that's where it started for me 32 years ago in this industry. And I learned everything from the bottom up, from truck to CEO, fast forward. But, I sat down with the zone manager at the time, the multi-unit manager, Tim Hogan, and we had a lot of great conversations. But at the end of the day, I said to Tim, look, I'm going to take this job. but I'm not going to stay here unless you continue to show me the light at the end of the tunnel. Okay. I didn't go to college to come here and be a driver. I'm going to continue on in my path. That was my driven thing, right? You know, you got to have drive and determination if you're going to be successful. And I knew that he was leasing my life and I was going to give him the time, but I told him straight up, you turn the light out in the tunnel, I'm done. So he never turned the light off. He passed me over 5 times for promotion. But when I asked him, when I finally got it, and I almost quit, you know, I almost said, all right, enough's enough. But I loved what I do. I love the people interaction, the spontaneity of the day. There's always something different. And I asked him when he finally promoted me, and he said, well, you know, listen, the only reason I didn't promote you is because you fit here. And this store has been where managers go to die, right? Everybody I put in this store,
Selfishly, he wanted you in that store.
he wanted me in that store, and he had to work through the process with that manager to open that up. And he was right, because in 9 months, we shut down a competitor and I blew that store up. And I had an opportunity to go back in the home store that I had. And I had a manager, Dan DeWolf, who was fantastic at his role, who was getting promoted. And I was very happy for Dan and his family. And I got the opportunity to come in and fill his shoes, which is a hard thing to do because he taught me a lot.
In what role?
Dan took me through everything to manager,
All the way to
from truck
store manager?
to store manager. And then and he continued to be a mentor. And so, yeah, I got to take over that store, and over the next 3.5 years, we ran that store up to be #1 in Florida. That was the largest store that Conco had, and man, we were hitting the groove, and it was just exciting. And then Copco sold back to corporate, and then corporate came in, and I ended up spending the rest of my first 10 years in the industry with Rent-A-Center, which was a great experience as well. I mean, they stretched us even further.
So did you go into a district or regional manager role under?
Yeah. So then they came in and interviewed me, which was the wildest interview I ever had as a manager. They talked to me for a little bit, but then they went in and talked to they sent a group of people, and they came in and talked to every single employee in the store. And they asked them questions basically about, what do I have them do? What is their role? How does this whole thing work? How does this machine work? And at the end, I think what they found when I found out I was getting promoted into a multi-unit position in Miami was that I had built a system for a big store, and that everybody knew their roles. They knew what the process was, and they were about it, and they were a part of that vision. It wasn't just come in and do your job. It was, all right, here's our goals. Here's what we stand for. Here's what we're shooting for. What do you need out of this? Why do you do this? Right? That kind of thing. And so that's how I got my first promotion. And I went to Miami and did a tour of duty down in Miami-Dade.
What's that next chapter at Rento?
Yeah. So I had been solicited by someone, actually my regional manager in the Georgia division that I started with Renway, James Pearson. Called up somebody he knew that was a vice president of operations for Aaron's, Tristan Montanaro, and said, hey, look, you need to meet this guy. So Tristan, being Tristan, drove over to South Carolina. We met at some fish restaurant. I can't even tell you what it was. Some kind of lighthouse thing. And Tristan met me halfway, and we had a good dinner, and we had some talks thereafter, and he was interested in me coming and working for him in Atlanta. And I really was like, I'm at a point in my life, even though I had stepped down, that like I'd already been where Tristan was at, per se, in title and responsibility. And I wanted more of that. I wanted to go back and prove myself at that level. And so at that point, Tristan offered me a job. And I said, hey, I'd love to come back to Atlanta, but I don't think this is the right thing for me. But if something comes up, let me know. And about I don't know, 7 months later, because I was with Renway probably a year and 9 months, I got a call from Tristan, and he said, hey, there's an opportunity in franchising, and I really think you need to talk to, this guy about franchising. And I'm like, okay. So I talked to the guy, And after a few months, we had a deal, and I became a minority equity partner in the second largest franchise at Aaron's.
How many units they have at the time when you joined?
I think we're closer to 40, in the high 30s, 40. We did some horse trading a little bit. But ultimately we're in the 30 range when I think when we sold back right at 38, 40 stores.
So really your job was to come in was not to grow, was to just focus on operations and
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. My stake in the game where I got my equity was through my operational knowledge, is to come in, bring in a team, utilize a team that's there to develop the stores because they were failing. We were
Good chunk, a lot of them.
a lot of them.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, when I got there, several of the multi-unit managers were already gone. There was a whole state that was not even, didn't even have leadership.
So it was
over it.
stripped of leadership,
Yeah.
positive energy and
Correct.
good vibes.
Yeah. So I ended up, a couple people, once again, you surround yourself with great people and they see that you're moving and they like your character, right? They can trust it. They believe in your integrity. Okay. They want to come with me. So I brought the guy that I worked for initially, Dan, came to work for me because it's not about titles. It's specifically about partnership. And Dan came, and another guy that worked for me in Somerville, South Carolina, Joe Stepke, who is a longtime friend, he came over to be his assistant. A guy named Ken Smith came with me to take over Western Tennessee.
So you were building your little Avengers team.
But also blending it in. I mean, there were some great people already there. They just needed the partnership, and so we got together. The multi units and I literally got together and said, "Hey, we're going to learn what Aaron's system is." And Julie Scott, who actually runs franchise operations for Aaron's, great person, just very dedicated. Was in training at that time. And so anytime Julie was talking, I wanted our people to be there to learn from Julie. And we had a couple other people. Ray Muncie, who obviously is Buddy Franchising, was one of my VPs. Yeah, there were 3 VPs in franchising, and Scott Harvey was the other one. And they had East and Central of the U.S. And so I had 2 franchise directors that I got to learn from, and my team got to learn from, and all the consultants as well that were out there supporting our stores. So it was a great system. I got to learn from that system, obviously, before I came to Buddy's. And my job really was to get in and run operations and figure out how to get these stores that were, quite frankly, I didn't know it when I joined in August, but I found in October we didn't have any money to buy inventory. And so I'd already written up a plan with the group. I got them all in a hotel, and we hung up these Post-it notes all over the walls, and we were writing, what we had learned from Julie and all of her folks and how we were going to implement that. And we had this plan, and then I got this call and said, well, for holiday, we're not going to be able to, we don't have a lot of money. We can buy some product for some customers. But so we went back into that room and we figured it out again, and we whiteboarded it and came out with another plan and executed that plan. And when we turned into the next year, we got a $25 million credit facility, and that was it. Because we went from about $46,000 over the next 3.5 years on average unit to about $111,000. And that's when we ended up selling back.
And when you say that, is that monthly revenue per store?
Yeah. And
so you doubled in 2.5 times essentially the business.
Oh yeah.
In terms of monthly revenue.
Yep. And I'm proud to say that we sold back at the highest multiple that the founder and CEO at that point, Charlie Laudermilk, who's since passed, a great man, built a great company. He was paying a multiple based on what you had built, and it was time to cash out. But when they cashed out, it was Ken Butler,
another Buddy's
franchisee that, and Ken's a great man. He accomplished a ton. He wrote a great book, by the way, on himself. If you can ever get a copy, it's worth a read. But Ken gave me an opportunity, and he said, I'd like you to, come in and run a territory for me, be VP of operations. And at that time it was Charlie, Ken, and this big second largest rent-own company, and by revenue, probably the largest revenue company at one point. And then all the VPs. and he had a stable of awesome talent.
So let me ask you something
Yeah.
real quick. In franchising with Aaron's, how many years was that when you came in? To
About 4.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I spent the next 6 years under the corporate side of the business.
VP of operations.
VP of operations. Ken, offered me an opportunity to move up where I wanted, to somewhere in the Midwest, around the Rust Belt.
So a new area for you.
Total new. Yeah, I'd never been to Indiana.
You were more of a southeastern.
I'm southeastern, eastern coast kind of guy. Yeah, and then Ken said, "Look, we have an opportunity up here," and we researched the area. My wife said, "Hey, this looks great. I love seasons," and I'm like, "Hey, check that box. We're going to seasons."
With Aaron's, I think another good 5-6 years on the corporate side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6 years. 6 years with Aaron's.
Okay, so we're up to about, if I my math, 10, 2, 4, 6. That puts us about 22.
No, we're like 2014.
Well, 22 years in the business, not 20 year.
Yeah,
22.
that's probably about right. Yeah.
So then your VP of operations, Buddies comes calling. But before Buddies comes calling, I do want to ask something important, because at that point in time, you've been on both franchisee side and franchisor side, and essentially franchise ownership as well as the operating partner. What did you like about being a franchisee of a system?
Well, I liked owning my own business. I like being able to say, all right, in franchising, I have the support and a system. One thing that I learned both at Rent-A-Center and Aaron's is that if you're going to buy into a franchise system, use the system. It's probably the biggest mistake people make in franchising is I get into a system and I'm all excited. We call that the moment of glee. And then once they get in and they understand the system, they start deviating from that system.
I know how to run it better than you.
Right. And when that happens, there's more chances for mistakes. Now, you can make mistakes with the system, but if the system, like at Buddy's, has been around since 1961, and the industry since in the 50s, continue to run the system. You don't have to come up with recreating the system.
Yeah.
Right.
McDonald's doesn't look for chefs. They look for operators, right?
That's right.
They don't need somebody to tell them how to cook a hamburger. They've been doing it pretty well. For
a long
and Burger King.
Yeah.
And Burger King.
And you know what's great about when you do the same thing over and over and over again, like McDonald's does? Speed.
Yep.
Right? Quality of service. It's fast. It's easy. And people understand what you expect. If you do something the same way every time, they can say, all right, I get it.
Yep.
I have confidence in why I'm here and what I have to do, and I'm not confused.
Yep.
And I don't need to go elsewhere because I really believe in my product and my brand. And look, turnover happens, and you're going to get another employee and another employee and another employee. And every time you want a base training to be able to get that person on track, on the rails as quickly as you can.
Yep.
And because if they're off the track, man, you're not moving.
And it's funny you said turnover, because you kind of lead into my next question, because turnover is obviously a frustration. As a franchisee of a brand, what are frustrations that you had that, other franchisees of other brands, no matter rent to own or others, that I feel that I understand that, and I wish that's something we can all work on to get better?
I don't know if it was specific with franchising or corporate. I don't think it really matters. I think when you're in a business and you hit an obstacle, it can be frustrating. And I always tell people this, and if there's one thing that ticks me off,
Grinds your gears.
grinds my gears, is the fact that people have a tendency to not own it.
Yeah.
Aaron's, by the way, shameless plug, but they put us through a training program over a summer, and they had us get up and give pitches about our concept, and mine was you own it. And for a period of time, you could go around and you could see the Aaron's trucks going by, and it said own it. They just dropped you. But that was something I was very passionate about, and I took it from the training class, and I went back into my division and I said, hey, you own it. You got to focus on you owning it. So when we go to stores and you're hitting an obstacle, let's figure out what the elephant in the room is. Because don't focus on 10, 20 things. There's always going to be problems. But what's the one that's killing you, that's sitting on you like an element and going to crush you? And once you get that, It's like, okay, now I understand the elephant, but if you're going to eat the elephant, you got to eat it one bite at a time.
That's one of my best friends saying all
And
the time.
well, I'm sorry to,
But it's very true.
it's true.
It's so true.
Yeah. And so once you have that, you've got two types of people. There's the elephant. Who let that elephant in? Somebody move that elephant. It's not my fault he's sitting on that guy. They're excuses. And we waste so much time in life saying we can't, we won't, we will try. When realistically we have to say we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. Mike said, just do it, right?
Yeah.
Nike said, just
Yeah.
do it.
Well, you talk about being actionable, and I think it goes back to just having discipline, because I think all of us at times get too wide with too many things.
Mhm.
And when you get too wide with too many things, it's very hard to be actionable with one,
Yeah.
right? So we need to kind of bring it down and focus on those one or two things, and you can get more actionable and eat an elephant once a day.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what's the saying? Eat an elephant a day, then you can eat the whole thing, right?
Okay.
Is that the saying?
Hey,
Remind me the saying. I forgot.
whatever you think. Are you talking about teach a man to fish, feed him for life?
You know what? It's all
Catch
in
him in
there.
a fish, eat it for a day?
We're moving on.
Okay, we're
moving on.
trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Buddies comes calling after this, and obviously it's probably an exciting time. So talk to me about that transition from Aaron's then to Buddies, and what your role was when you moved over to
Now,
Buddies.
Mitchell, there was another failing point in here, right?
Well, you can talk about it if you
We
want
can
to.
talk a little bit
Okay.
about it.
I didn't want to bring it up.
That's okay. So after 10 years at Aaron's, the company I was affiliated with was looking at buying Aaron's, a person I was involved with. And unbeknownst to me, I was on his advisory board, and unbeknownst to me, he made a play for a hostile takeover of Aaron's for $3.1 billion. Well, even though just months before that, I was offered to come back to Atlanta, run Home Smart. I was offered to come in and be the senior VP of purchasing and logistics. And I was very thankful for those opportunities to be offered, but I didn't think I was the right fit for that in the right time. And I declined those, and I was fine with where I was at. But when that offer came in, I remember I was about to take my team out, and we were going to talk about our quarterly review and how well we've been doing and what we need to do to get better. And I said, hey, they're finishing the conference call. I need to go in there and listen to Aaron's conference call. So I go in the office, it's the last 30 minutes. And as you know, that's when everybody comes on for question and answer. And the first question out of the gate is, well, what do you think about this takeover bid? And I was like, oh, wow. So 2 weeks later, HR and head of operations came to the office. They told me, I think they called me in flight or something, said, hey, don't leave the office. They got there, came into my office and said, hey, we got to let you go. And I remember grabbing a picture of my family and saying, really? This is kind of raw me. But, it was emotional. I put everything I had into Aaron's, and I loved Aaron's. I still love Aaron's, still love the people. And I said, okay. And so they gave me a 1-year deal, and I signed it, and I got a year off from the industry, and I was barred. And
So a non-compete.
yeah,
So you moved your family,
moved my family,
DFW,
bought a house,
6 months
got my girls in school. They're both playing sports.
in 2016, 15.
Yeah.
Okay.
2016, 2015 to 16, really 2015. And 6 months, and everything's going great. We're adjusted. I mean, it was amazing how quickly we adjusted in Texas. And it didn't hurt that my wife had a friend in Plano that was one of her first leasing consultants that she was paired up with in her industry in her first 10 years of working, Leslie. And so anyway, it was great being there. We found that we had, friends, and we built more friends in that short period. But then I got that call. I got that rebound call. Hey, we're ready. It's, we got an opportunity.
From who? For what?
Yeah, for Buddies.
Okay.
And we got this opportunity for you at Buddies, and the COO position is open, and we want you to come and do this. And
Why the 6-month wait? What makes you think
well, I mean, Buddies was transitioning. I mean, you really had the
from
family
family ownership?
Yeah,
to
yeah. Because
individual?
what happened was the company, the private equity company came in and bought a majority stake in the company, and there was a minority stake that was still with the family. And then Jamie Slatton, awesome guy. I mean, a guy that you want to hang out with. He's funny as all get out, and has a lot.
Son of the
The son of, yeah, the son of Norman, um, big family. But he stayed in there to run this thing, and Jamie was transitioning his equity over into franchising because he's like, all right, well, I'll take some of the corporate stores that we grew, and I'll go ahead and take those over for my equity, and we'll be on the franchising side, which opened the door to new management, which is where I came in, and I was so excited because at that time Ken Butler was here. James
as a
as a franchisee.
okay.
They had a small group of stores.
So he left Aaron's at some point in time.
Yeah, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But when you came in, he was a franchisee.
yeah,
Sorry.
and nobody can tell that better than Ken. So if you want to do a podcast, get Ken. He'll do a podcast with you, Mitchell. And so yeah, so we where was on that, Mitchell?
Took a call.
I love for
become a leader with buddies.
Yeah. So I got that call, and it's like, okay, coming in, new leadership. I'm at my first conference here in Orlando, and I look around the room and I see people that I met at Rentway that are part of the system. I see people that are here from Rent-A-Center. I see Ken. This is like bookends. I got Ken Butler over here, who's helped Charlie build the rent to own.
Put arrows.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ken, really, most people don't realize is Ken went from rents to rents. He took rent to rent to own, right? So to see that guy over here, and then look over here and see, here's Jamie that, probably ran around in diapers at Buddy's with his dad. And what a great set of bookends.
And that's one thing I always say I love about Buddies is, yes, we are franchisee focused. A good chunk of our stores are franchisee led, which makes us different at rent to own. But also I believe it's a melting pot of all the good things that make rent to own, because everybody, there's different ways to skin the cat and be successful in this business. But what I love is you see some of those Rent-A-Center, Aaron's, Rentway, all blended together to make the Buddy system what it is.
Yeah. And, like families, things can be great, and sometimes, things can fall a little apart. But all in all, there's never, regardless of differences of opinions in family, your blood, right? And I never forget the fact that one day Jamie pulled me in an office and he said, look, we know how to run this business, and if we need you, we'll let you know. But he said to me, he goes, Michael, I know you're going to do great things with my dad's business. And that's the most profound thing Jamie's ever said to me. But other than that, he's a great guy. But it's tough, when your family's running that business your whole life, and then you see somebody else come in. It's tough to get the family, right?
Like your first girlfriend going somewhere else.
It's something crazy, yeah. But the thing about our industry is, I think we're a small group. We're a large industry, but we're very tight knit. And I saw Jamie, not to make this all about Jamie, but I saw him in a Bull Gator zone at a Gator game. Florida Gators, go Gators. And so he was up there, and I went out for the Tom Petty song at the end of the third, right? And everybody's got their lighters up, and I hear this, Michael, and I'm like, Jamie, and there's thousands of people in this place, and he goes, respect, but that's kind of how it is, It's not.
You don't need to say 100.
You don't have to say a lot,
Yeah.
And I still respect everything the Slattons have done, and I hope that I'm doing a good job.
And one thing on franchise
in our
sales,
family.
and sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off,
No,
but
that's good.
I get passionate about it too, because I come from family businesses in my hometown. And yes, there's investments from others. Yes, it's not family owned anymore, but I do everything in my power to let the prospects that I talk to, that we call it the Buddies family for a reason. And yes, there's a contract and a partnership, and you own your own business, and we support you from 1,000 feet up. But there's all the business and all that goes into it. But everything we can do on our end to help support our franchisees from the time they talk to me to the time they are in the system and beyond. The more we can make it humanized, the more we can be there to support them any step of the way. I think Norman and their family would be proud of that. So,
well, thank you for that. I mean, it's a team effort, and I'm humbled. I come to these conferences and I get to step up in front of whatever size group that is, and it's not lost on me that that there are people sitting there that whatever I say, they're listening.
Hanging on to those words.
They're hanging on those words, and words can be very important for people, especially when they value a title or they, value you as a person if they get to know you. So, you want to do right by people. I think if there was anything that I could, ever say is that, value people in whatever you do, and you'll get tenfold back.
Yep. So I've been the leader of Buddies for 10 years. What year did you officially become COO/CEO?
I got here November 3rd. I think it was November 3rd of 2015. I showed up on the doorsteps January 2nd of 2016. So, it's been,
Officially 10 years.
yeah, it's coming up on 10 years. Yeah.
So 10 years with Buddies.
Mhm.
You've seen a lot.
Yeah.
And I know we spent a lot of time on those other things, but I think it's important because it's made you who you are. What shocked you what slapped you in the face when you became the CEO of Buddies and you're like, man, I got to figure this thing out?
Oh man, that's easy. 2016. I'd barely gotten wet behind the ears here at Buddies, and we were,
Mind you, Buddies was franchising since 09, but
yeah,
it was very, very new in its
yeah,
franchise.
absolutely.
Franchise.
I mean, it had grown organically through relationships, people that, primarily people, there were some people from Rentway. Rentway ended up selling back to Rent-A-Center, and there were people that wanted to do it the Welcome Wanted important way. And they didn't want to be what they thought Rent-A-Center was, too stiff, too corporate. That's really not what Rent-A-Center was to me, but everybody has their own opinions. And so here we were. I showed up January 2nd of 16, and I find out that we're going to be acquiring HomeSmart, which is a company that Aaron's started. Actually, it was a concept that Ken came up with, and there were about 80 stores. And I had just started to get to know the team. I think my first go round with my team was I wanted to go to every department and I wanted to sit down and talk to them about their pain points. That's all I really wanted to know initially. Is I want to get to know them, and I want to know what is the pain that they're going through in their departments. And I mapped that out, and then I brought them back together to figure out how we could work together, how we could work cross-departmentally to get through those pain points. And that was kind of the basis of our kickoff. But then we got kicked in the face, Mitchell. It was like, hey, you got 80 stores and you need to convert them from an operations, a POS system.
How many stores was Buddies at the time before the 80 unit acquisition?
I don't know, man. It was like 100 and something, maybe.
So pretty much double the business.
It was a lot.
Double the units.
It was a lot. It was a lot. I remember sitting in front of the IT and development group, and I said, these are folks that, they have come up from home leans. I have some certifications, but, they had never had the roof raised for them, right?
Yeah.
Reach high.
They were playing high A ball and about to just pass double and triple A and go straight to
Absolutely. Great
right?
analogy.
Yeah.
And so I told them, I said, hey, look, what happens if we acquire 100 stores? Are we going to be able to handle that? And you see the jaw just hit the floor. And I'm like, okay, well, that's about what's going to happen. We're going to get 80, and we got to figure this out. And so we just started whiteboarding this. What are going to be our barriers to make this happen? What
essentially back when you were with Rosie Reynolds.
That's right. We got back into the room. It was in Tampa, in our Tampa office at the time. And we went into the conference room and we started mapping this out. And that was with the IT team. That was the first team. And then I kind of went to other departments
Do you do something like that? I'm so curious about this.
Yeah.
When you get in that room, are you talking like high level right now? Or are you down to the hey, we need to get these hardwire things into POS systems? How do you go about doing something?
Yeah.
Like that?
Well, it's kind of the pain point thing. Is the first thing is you put the problem out there. The problem is the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I was
so
close to saying the elephant.
Yeah,
right
well,
before
I'm going to go back to it, but the elephant has to come out in the room, and the elephant in the room is we have never acquired and converted 80 stores. And it's not just doing it on the POS. It's also doing it with the brand. It's a signage. Do we have contractors in place to get this to happen? And we could talk about it all day, but what we just started doing and it was with IT first, because the first thing we got to do is figure out how we can get this converted. The data has to be converted from Aaron's, who's on their own operating system, to what we have, which is VersaRent, owned by Ideal. And so, we just started putting up problems and putting up problems. And I'm not a technical person. I'm not the IT person, but I learned so much from just asking questions and listening to what they have to say. And I watched a group of people, and I've seen this so many times, is when you get in the huddle, right? And you got to draw up the plays. Somebody always rises.
Yep.
Somebody wants the ball, Mitchell,
It's like Saving Private Ryan when the leader's leading, right?
right? And so it's amazing that when you drop titles in business and you really value the people and their input, that once they all put that into the mix, now it's okay. Now let's start peeling back the onion. Now let's start figuring out, okay, how are we going to solve this problem? And so it's resonated with IT, and then it branched out into other departments. And you know what? We ate the elephant.
Yeah.
We ate the elephant. And
So then you go to 180-ish units, give or take 200 units at that time?
Yeah, I think we're over 200.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now where we are now, closing in on 300 units, which is obviously awesome.
Yep.
In your role, obviously leading that, some acquisitions, growing franchisees. I think somebody can always say that, whether you like him or don't, you're going to respect Michael Bennett because he's going to lead from the front, right? What are some of those character traits to make people to be able to follow you?
Honesty when it hurts, honesty when you don't get your way, integrity. You got to have integrity in what you do. If people are going to trust you, again, they may not always like your answer, but whether it's a 1-store franchisee or a 100-store franchisee, I'm not going to do any different. I'm not going to do you a favor that I wouldn't do for another franchisee. You got to have integrity in what you stand for and what you do. And in our industry, when you sign an agreement and you're a franchisor, or you sign an agreement and you're a franchisee, you have to be bound with what you agreed to when you sign a document, right? And that's where you hold our stores hold people accountable to the rental agreement. That is the basis of the relationship. Now we have fun. We learn customers, we learn about their kids, but it all comes back to what grounds us and what keeps us in parallel is that agreement. So I think it's honesty, integrity, and then just, commitment to people. I think that's a character trait that either people see or they don't. I don't look at showing emotion as a weakness, whether it's fighting hard and debating, because it's never personal. But I think you have to fight hard if you want to get through the pain, get through the failures, and get to a win.
Yeah.
And so that's the way I treat it. Everything is drive and determination to get to success. Yeah.
And I think you talk to our franchisees, you would all hear those conversations. And speaking of franchisees, you can give them support till they're blue in the face, but franchisees own their business first.
That's right. You got to respect that.
And what makes, in your mind, you can talk about Buddy specific, you can think about the brands of the 3 brands, but what makes a successful franchisee in your eyes?
Well, I said it earlier. They gotta follow a system. One guy told me early on, he said, lead in this business, you got to lead with your palms down and not your palms up. Right. And so if you spend your time asking for a handout, and that's not what our industry is. You have to get in, you get the dirt under your nails. You're going to work at this. For franchisees, I guess you're saying what system, right? I mean, you gotta follow the system. If you follow the system, you have a better chance for success. It's tough on me. I want to see every single franchisee succeed. Today was talking to one of the franchisees that opened a store, hadn't had the opening that he thought. And, but he's grinding, he's not blaming anybody. He loves the support he's got at Buddy's. He said that on video, actually, in one of yours.
I think I know who you're talking about, and he's in positive and good spirits today.
He's in positive, good spirits. And it's like, he understands his business. This isn't his first merry-go-round. But you hate it. You hate that they might struggle and you want to help. But not everybody is successful in every business, not even with this system, with the same system. But
Can we talk about that though?
But Brian is, we can talk about whatever you want, Mitchell. You got the mic.
Well, I think it's important because You can sign a bad lease. You can hire a bad general manager.
You can.
You can hire a second bad general manager. You can catch somebody stealing from you. But at the end of the day, no matter what you go into, you are going to have frustrations in some way, shape, or form, right? You're going to have setbacks. You're going to have those situations where you don't know if you're going to be able to make it anymore, right?
Right.
They're going to call you. They're going to call the franchise consultant when they're in their lowest of low. What do you say? What can you do in those moments just to not humanize it, but just know that, hey, I hear you. Here's the problem. Here's the solution.
Well, I mean, first of all, it's not always telling the people what the solution is. I mean, again, it kind of goes back to what kind of person am I dealing with? You have the franchisee or just person in life. I don't want to say, villainize franchisees because they're not villains. They're the good guys. But
And gals.
and gals, thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
I saved
that.
you on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you did. But you have to, find out what their pain point is. Talked about that again earlier. If you understand what their real pain is and then understand what they're doing about it, what are you doing? Because when you've been doing this as long as I have, it's like Harry Potter, where you're Universal, right? You go into, the Wizard of Wiz and you look into and you pull out this strand, right? I don't know where to pull the knowledge out, but if I find out specifically that this is your problem, I might have a scenario I've been through that I can ask you, have you tried this?
Sure.
And it's just about creating the next possible idea. And what works for one person may not work for everybody.
Yeah.
And because of what you said, there are different scenarios. It's not as you just take a store, you open a store, and it's magically going to work as the process, because there are other variables, and people is a big variable in business, and it's a big variable in our industry. So you want to keep your people focused on the system. So I'm going to look for areas of issue in the system. And buddies, we have KPIs. We have 8 KPIs that measure
Key performance indicators.
key performance indicators. And so if you're off in one of those key performance indicators, then that tells us that's your report card. Well, if you're failing, you got a D or an F. Okay, some people think D was passing, I guess.
In college it is.
In college it is.
I dropped a class because I had a C because I was scared.
Well,
My first semester, I didn't know.
Good
better.
for you.
Thank you.
I was looking to rise higher,
I was 3.4 when I graduated. I'm pretty proud of that.
That is nice.
At Texas Tech University, Reckham. Continue.
So we evaluate those KPIs, and then once we evaluate it, then we start digging into, okay, let's look at the process first. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? And it could be, down to people. We visit the stores. We have franchise consultants that visit the stores, and they give write-ups on, hey, this is what I learned on this store. Here's what they're doing well. Here's what they can work on. And so we have those arms out there, in support, which are really important. It's an extra set of eyes or ears. But if it comes back to me, I would want to do a business review. I would want to understand what your real pain is. But what gets me, and where I get, very direct and can come off a little strong, is when people start blaming and justifying. If somebody will open themselves up, like we're doing here in the talk show, right? If they will open themselves up and be real about their problems, there's nothing that they can't accomplish and that we can't accomplish together.
Yeah.
We can figure out a way. Now, we may have to work at it, and we may fail and fail and fail and fail, but that is the true meaning of grit.
Yep.
You're going to push through until you can.
Great way to bring it back, by the way.
Well, I'm in the mode today on this grit thing. So,
Well, you're leading into my next thing too, as we talk about franchisees. Obviously, I talk to people and make sure that, of course, meet qualifications, all those things, but make sure they're a good fit too. What do you think, as we hold them to we host them to a virtual discovery day, they come to meet the team, I might visit them, we might fly out. We're going to spend some time together in that, whatever it is, 2 to 4 months as they look about a business. From a personable standpoint, what do you want to look for as a prospect that is going to turn into a franchisee? What do you want to look for in that person?
a lot. Obviously, I'm going to look to you to make sure that they qualify financially. It's really important. And you and I both know that if you get people in on a shoestring, and whether they do poorly or whether they do really, even when you do really well, I mean,
They're
You,
still
you,
strained.
you need money, right? Because in our industry, you're putting out product, as you know.
You got to buy a lot of
You
inventory.
got to buy a lot of inventory, and then you start making recurring payments,
Yeah.
and you get that money back. And then you get to a point where you've made your money back, and then it's all gravy from there. And that's where you make your profit.
But if you and I open a car dealership and we sell all of our cars, what do you have to go do?
We got to go buy more cars, Mitchell.
And then we got to burn more cash,
Right.
knowing that we're a little snowball at the
Yeah.
top of the hill that's going to go downhill
Right.
and get bigger and bigger.
We buy a $30,000 car and we rent it out for $200 a week. How's that work?
It's going to take some time.
You got to have some liquid capital.
The return's going to be great, but
It's
you
gonna
got
be
to
great.
you have to invest in the front end.
Yeah, you got to invest in the front end, and you have to play the long-term game. You're building a business, over time. And the beautiful thing about our business, as you know, is the recurring revenue stream. That affords you a lot when you built a business, and the market, gets tight. Something happens in the economy. COVID happened. The recurring revenue can still be collected. It's a paycheck coming in for you as a franchisee every day, regardless. Now, if I'm in a retailer and all of a sudden I don't sell something that day, well, I eat what I kill.
Yep.
I didn't eat that day.
If we shut down because of COVID or something crazy,
You can still collect money.
Yep.
People still will pay you, believe it or not, for their merchandise. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you so much for the time. And I've got a couple more things,
Okay.
a couple quick hitters to make it fun.
Hmm.
You and I get in the first floor of the elevator. We're going up to, I'm getting off at the 7th floor. Of course, you're the CEO. You're staying on the 13th floor of the hotel, right? That's just what you
13.
do.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well, sorry, 14th. I did not mean to do that.
All right.
But give me in that 30 seconds an elevator pitch of what makes franchising with buddies and being with buddies so special.
It's where that recurring revenue meets customer relationships. You have the ability, franchisees have the ability to come in and make a profit, and make a difference in the community. That's really it.
I'm getting off my floor. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Say that again. For recurring revenue meets customer relationship.
Or meets, yeah.
You grinned when you said that. You really liked that one.
I
That's
did.
a really good.
Yeah. You know me, I'm spontaneous. There are things I say that you're going to ask me tonight. What did you say?
We're going.
I'm glad you recorded it, because at least now you know, because I will never.
Stare into the camera one more time and say it again.
I can't.
Oh, good. I'm gonna get a little emotional here.
Oh,
Not emotional, but more. You talked about your family, and this is what we'll end on.
yeah.
You've talked about moving your family across the country,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Been through some trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like this, right? And it shouldn't be just like this. What do your daughters mean to you?
Oh my gosh, Mitchell. That's wrong. Life. I mean, it's my life. My wife and my life, my girls. That's what it means to me. You want to make me cry. I'm glad I'm wearing glasses. Sarah, I love you. Anna, I love you. And my center is my wife, Heidi. Yeah. You're killing me, man.
And one of them works for Buddies, right?
Yeah, she does. She's the LMS coordinator, LMS administrator.
Learning and management systems,
She is. Yeah. She supports
training, and other things. I say.
yeah. You're killing me,
I
man.
hope you. Well, let me get you one more.
You're killing
When your daughters and your wife
Mm.
know how much time you've put into this,
Mm-hmm.
and they look at your legacy,
Yeah.
what do you hope they see from these years?
Boy, man. I've been drinking a lot of water. It's all coming out the eyes today.
We'll have
So-
a couple. We'll have a couple cold ones.
Yeah. So you want to know, repeat that, because I'm still in the emotion of what you just asked me a second ago. You want to know
When your daughters and your wife,
yeah.
when it's all said and done,
Yeah.
look at the legacy you left in this business.
Yeah. Well,
What do you hope they see?
I would hope that they understand that, the central mission of our family has been to be a family and to be tight. Although I wasn't there every day like my wife was, I was there for all the special moments. It's not about how much time you spend with the kids, it's the magic that you make when you're with them. So I would hope that they know that I led with honesty and integrity, I was dedicated to whatever company I was ever with because I was dedicated to the people, right? You're killing me, man. Dedicated to the people and their success. And I think if I was ever to leave a legacy, I would say that over the last 32 years, there were enough people that I came in contact with that I hope I left an impression on those people. And my family looks back at that and they say, that was my dad. That was my husband. That was my son.
Well, I'll tell you this. You don't know what's going to happen in your next days, next weeks, next months, next year. You can only be here today, as we talked about already.
Yeah.
So I say we're on a plane ride, right? And we don't know how far this plane's going to go, but man, I'm enjoying every day right now. It's an awesome journey. Like I said, I want it to go on forever. That's not how life works, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No matter what happens. But in this moment right now, man, I love the people I work with, the company I work with, the CEO I work for. And it's just been an awesome journey so far, and I wanted to go on as long as it can.
It's awesome. Well, we're thankful for you being here. You're one of the people that makes this work for sure. And I won't hold that Texas Tech thing against you. Go Red Raider.
Go check Red Raider meets out.
Go Red
Meat
Raider.
judging program is the best
The
in the
meat
country.
judging program. Look it up. 19 championships.
15 out of 21.
Oh,
pretty
okay. All right.
pretty
Exactly.
Saban-esque.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're going to wrap it up here at the Buddies Conference here in 2025. All about grit, all about family, all about relationships. Thank y'all so much for joining us. And until next time, have a good one.
Awesome.